Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Sportscaster and her son. This is where sports bridges the gap between these two generations of me, Peggy Kusinski, one of the co-hosts. I'm a 12-time Emmy Award-winning sportscaster, formerly of NBC Chicago. I am now ESPN 1000 in Chicago, host of Peggy and Dion on Saturday mornings, and also host of the Chicago Bears post-game shows on the Chicago Bears radio network. And this is the younger generation, my son, Jason. Hey, Jace.
Yeah, hey mom. I'm Jason Conander. I'm Peggy's son. I'm a sportscaster here in Topeka, Manhattan, Kansas. It's a great time out here, and excited to be doing this show with you today.
All right, we're going to do something different here, Jason. Okay, it's a new year. This is typically when people are like making New Year's resolutions. I'm going to finally do this. I'm going to quit my job. I'm gonna go start losing weight. I'm going to start a workout program. I'm going to go climb Mount Everest. Whatever it is that people are putting off to do, this is the show for you. And I want to start out by asking you, Jason, how you had the courage to take the jump and move to Kansas, not knowing anybody, to chase your dreams of being a sports broadcaster. You didn't know anyone when you moved to Kansas. So tell us about that decision that you made.
Well, I always wanted to do this. I mean, I've always known since high school that I wanted to make this jump after college. I didn't know where I would do it, but I always kind of knew that I wanted to be somewhere, talk sports, report on sports, be on camera, most importantly, and just do what I love. And so when the opportunity arose really quickly out of college to do that, I didn't really need much of a summer vacation. I just wanted to go and get started and start working because I didn't want to be left out in the water around football season, still looking for a job and stuff like that. Just so it's fun being out here. I enjoy it. I'm glad I made this decision every day after work. I'm thankful that I'm out here because I learned a lot. But it's a decision that I don't think so much about because it's a decision that I've kind of always knew that I was going to make and go do.
I kind of felt the same way when I was your age. I didn't really think of it as making big decisions. I didn't think of it as
Yeah.
taking a big risk or taking a big leap at all. But back in 1987, I guess it was a really big leap for me. I packed up my life living in Lincoln Park in downtown Chicago, a super fun neighborhood, rooming with one of my best friends. I was making good money, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And so I always kind of had it nagging over my shoulder that, if you're going to do it, just go do it. Just go and move forward and don't look backwards. So I took the big step of taking a 3-month production assistant job. I think it actually 6-month production assistant job at ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut, packed up my whole apartment in my car, moved to Connecticut from Chicago, slept on the couch of 2 associate producers I still remember their names to this day. They gave me somewhere to sleep until I could find roommates. And I ended up moving in with 2 guys who were also production assistants like me. None of us knew each other. We were all PAs. We all met for the first time and got an apartment. And that, I guess, was my big audacious move. So, I think some people are afraid to take the big steps because it feels so big. Like, I'm sure you have friends that would never do what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do have a lot of friends from college who are still in Austin living life like they're still in college, and I don't envy that at all. I'm glad that I'm out here doing my thing, being an adult, doing what I've always wanted to do. Like you said, it's an audacious move, but it's not something that, I feel like if you put all the pressure on it and you make such a huge deal out of it, then it's something that might fall through. And so just being really self-assured and knowing that you've made the right decision for yourself and never looking back once that decision's been made, never doubting it, never, thinking about, what could or could not have happened, and just, being very sure about your decisions.
Jason, our guest is pretty much an expert when it comes to just do it. Just do it now, right? You've seen her on Good Morning America. She's great friends with Robin Roberts, and Mike Tirico is talking about her book, Cultivating Audacity, Dismantle Doubt, and Let Yourself Win. It's my old roommate, Anne Marie Anderson, joining us, ESPN broadcaster, 3-time Emmy Award winner. AMJ, how are you?
I'm so well, and I love this. We're just going to force Jason to just do it.
Exactly. So I have to tell people. So a lot of people recognize you from your play-by-play duties, calling games, ESPN, everywhere that you have been. I want to tell my story about Anne Marie. There's people in your life, and whether it's in your career, your childhood, they make an impression, right? You can lose track of them, but they've always made that impression. Anne Marie, that was you for me. We were young. We were very impressionable, young production assistants at ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut together. We had our own visions for what we wanted to do, our dreams of what we wanted to be in our careers. And Anne Marie always went for it. Just went for it. Even something as simple as moving into a attic apartment of this old woman who had her son living with her. And I thought that the place was haunted, and I was scared to death to move into this apartment. And Anne Marie was like, just do it. Like, whatever. You got to put your fears aside and just do it. So now, fast forward, Anne Marie, that you have not only a fabulous career as a speaker, as a broadcaster, but now with your book, an author telling people how to just do it. I swear to God, you continue to amaze me.
Oh, you're amazing. You're amazing. It's funny that you say that, as we have this mutual admiration society. And I'll just tell you something. The thing I loved about Peggy was that we both wanted to be on air, but I was too afraid to say it. Like, your mom just did it. She left ESPN before me to just do it. So I don't know who's got the bravery where. It was awesome.
I know. I'm telling you, you definitely do. I think that, when I was telling Jason that my big risk was actually moving to Bristol, Connecticut. I mean, nobody in my neighborhood had done anything like that. No one in my family would do anything like that, for like a career. That was my big risk. But I think once you take one risk, you realize the payoff and that it's not as scary as you think it will be. How did you finally convince yourself, Anne Marie, to take the risk?
I think it's exactly that, Peggy. It's practice, right? It's about practicing taking the risk. So there's reckless and there's worth it risks. And I ask people to consider that all the time. And then it depends on where you are in your life. So for me, for example, when I left ESPN the first time, right, because I did it 3 times, when I left the first time to go be LA bureau producer, I quit because they told me that they didn't have a spot for me, and I had loved my job, but I just couldn't live in Bristol anymore. But at that period in my time, in my life, it was worth it. I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have kids. I didn't have family. If I were to do that now with 3 kids, right, that would be reckless. So it's about what's reckless and what's worth it. And I have a feeling, Jason, as we talk about you, you're in a very worth it type time in your life where the risks are kind of small.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, my mom likes to play the risk up a little bit of me moving out here to Kansas. I don't view it as a risk so much because I always wanted to do it. But I guess compared to what some of my friends from school who are still living in Austin and acting like they're still in college, I think that, it's a risk compared to that. Well, my big question is, like, how much would you say mentality plays into all of these risks? How much does your mentality have to be in line before you make these big decisions, before you're able to be audacious?
I think that waiting doesn't work. And I think that's exactly what people want to do, is they want to wait until everything's aligned. We've been sold this bill of goods, like, especially for women, a glass ceiling, you got to brace the glass ceiling. Baloney. It's about the sticky floor. We're all just kind of stuck to the floor waiting for the right time. When's the right time that I have all the credentials and everything's in line? I've got enough money saved. I've got enough time and I can work and it's all going to be perfect. It never arrives, Jason. Never arrives. You just got to get off the sticky floor. And I think that's the mentality.
And how do you know when to get
that.
off that sticky floor then? Yeah, I think that's the other thing is people might stay on that sticky floor longer because they're caught in that back and forth in their head of, is now the right time? Is God or some other higher power telling me that it's a different time? So how do you know when the right time is?
Yeah, it's not God or your higher power. It's me telling you, go now. Now is the time. Listen to me, Jason. Listen to my voice. It just doesn't arrive. It doesn't arrive, and there's no mistakes. This is the big thing, and I think, Peggy, you'd agree with this. There's no mistakes. It's all just data in terms of failure and in terms of risk. So you go out there in Kansas and you try, and nothing happens there, and then you've got some data to work with, some information about what you want to do the next time. Hope, my least favorite word, and it gets me in trouble all the time, is hope. People are like, oh, it's a virtue. It's a lovely word. I think it's a wonderful thing. It's a lovely name to have, but it's not a plan. Okay. Hope is not a plan. You need to just go out, take some actionable steps, see where they lead you, and keep reevaluating the plan.
I remember the late, great John Saunders was really someone who kind of pushed me towards just go do it. And Amarie, the job at ESPN, I could have stayed there. I could have stayed in Bristol. I could have worked my way up the ladder in production. But I knew the calling that I wanted to do was there, but I was so afraid because, like you said, as women, it's like, ooh, a woman is going to do this. John Saunders is the one who really convinced me. And he said, don't just go apply for the jobs. Go tell them you want the jobs. Don't worry if you've never done it before. Get the job and then figure out how to do the job. And I thought, what is it about women? We make sure all of our ducks are in a row. We make sure we are over prepared instead of diving in and willing to take a chance and look bad. Instead, we want everything perfect. We prepare, we over prepare for everything. Whereas most of the guys in our industry, they just go for it.
Right. And we used to think that was bravery. You know what I mean? Like it's the perfect example of audacity, right? Like, let's say you and me both looking for a job and we have 50% of the credentials. There's no chance that we're applying for that. Typically, I would now, frankly, living my audacious life. But back then, no chance, because I want to get more credentials. So we have a guy who then applies at 50% of the credentials. And he doesn't get the job either. But what he does have is a sneak preview into the interview process. He's got the questions. He's been in front of the people. He goes back with 65% of the qualifications. Maybe he doesn't get the job again, but he's working on the skills. I'm working on mine over here in the dark too. So when we both go back at 85% of the qualifications and interview, it's my first time and it's his third time.
Yeah.
Well, who's going to get that job?
Right.
And I have to tell you, Jason, I'm totally giving up your mother's stories, but it's like the guy at the bar who asks out a million different women until somebody says yes, right? Like that. Yeah. That's what happens. Your mom wasn't the guy at the bar, but we did decide once that we were going to be the guy at the bar in March and we were going to date and we are going to have our own March Madness dating, like a bracket dating. Do you remember this? Because we were like, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. When somebody asks me out, I'm going to say yes. Let me tell you, Jason, that was the worst idea. I ended up with some horrible dates. The point being, though, that I said yes. There.
Well, but you were also, speaking of the dating scene back then in our early lives, you were very, very bold. And I would just watch you and think, oh my gosh, how does your confidence just soared. And I remember, I remember once that we went all out to a bar in Hartford, Connecticut. Maybe we were off work one night, and I said, oh, I have $10 or $20, whatever I was bringing with. I don't even think we had credit cards back then. And you, Anne Marie, said, put your money away. We're on scholarship tonight.
Oh, that's terrible.
I know, but it was so bold. It was so bold. And that's what I really respected that. I was like, that took balls. Like that is really, really impressive. So
Totally.
how do we put doubt aside that always seems to creep in and prevent us from going after what we want?
So here's the key that I learned. We don't put it aside. We take it with us.
Mm.
So what we always used to learn, right? Like overcome your fears. Baloney, your fears are not going to be overcome. They're going to be right there in the passenger seat the whole time. You know, you take it with you, you acknowledge it. Hey, I know you're going to be here. You don't get to make any decisions. I like that Glennon Doyle said in her book that you don't even get to touch the radio. Like you'll be in the car, but you don't get to decide even what music that we're playing, because it's a part of us and it gives us information. And so whatever those doubts are that you have, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready, well, let's just see. And I think, Peggy, a lot of the way that we get there, at least for me, what worked for me throughout my career was catastrophizing. Like, what is the absolute worst that could happen? And a lot of times I would get to like, I'm going to die destitute and alone. Like, I am going to try this on the air. And if I'm not good, I'm never going to get another on-air job. And I'm also going to lose my producing job. And then I'll lose my career. And then, you know, my husband at the time will have to leave me because I'll be miserable because I won't be a good mother to our children who aren't even born yet. And I'll die destitute and alone. Well, that is probably not going to happen.
Right.
And I'm also not going to win an Emmy my first time out. So somewhere between those two is going to be the result. And that's the information I'm going to take towards the next audacious action.
How do you know where to draw the line then with these audacious actions? I know you've said say yes to everything, you know, have that just do it mentality, but how do you know when to have reasonable doubt and use that reasonable doubt?
Don't end up in prison. Don't break any laws. No, that's the stuff that we tell you guys. Don't end up in the newspaper for the wrong reasons. It's about weighing the risks, Jason, right? Which ones are what's literally, when you do think about it, what is the worst that can happen? I really cringe when people like are all in. They put all their chips in and I've invested all my money in this new business that I'm going to do. That's not worth it. That's reckless.
Yeah.
So it's about measuring the potential outcomes and surrounding yourself with people that are going to tell you the truth. I call those people your front row.
Yeah.
And those people are going to really tell you the truth. And I hate to tell you this, it's probably not your mom and it's probably not your best friend. Only it could be your mom, but really, I mean, your mom wants you to be safe most of the time. You know, they don't want you to get hurt. Whereas your front row can push you a little bit more and tell you the truth and say, you know, here's what you need to do. And did you try this and suck it up and get up? Your mom may push you just because I know your mom. But for the most part, you need to be surrounded by people who are trying to do big things in their own ways.
Jason, what do you think? Am I on a cheerleader on the sideline or am I more in your front row?
I think my mom's honestly one of the outliers who fall in my front row. I think that my mom's always really honest with me. She's not necessarily the type of mom who's always going to be like, you know, rah, rah, you're the best at everything. You know, she's always very honest with me and she tries to push me in the right direction. And yeah, she does want me to be safe, but she's honest with me. That's all I can ask for.
Yeah. And she's a risk taker too, though. That's the big thing you have to realize. Not everybody is, but your mom is also somebody who's taken a lot of risks.
I was thinking about that, Anne Marie. Reading your book, it really made me stuck. When people would ask, you know, what are the biggest risks you've taken? Like Jason and I were just talking about that. I don't think I looked at them as risks. Maybe a little stupidity, but you know, naivete maybe. But like I remember walking into Donna DeVerona, talking my way into Donna DeVerona's office, my first time ever in New York. And I went into ABC Sports and I got my way into Donna DeVerona's assistants in front of her assistant. And I basically said I wanted to talk to her about my career in breaking into the business. And she actually took the time to visit with me.
That's audacious. I love it.
So like, but those things, like I never thought of them. I just thought of them as almost like put it in my cachet. I'm going to put it, this is the stuff that's going to help push me. It's going to help push me over the line. So I'm curious for you, Anne Marie, before we let you go, in your career and everything you have done, what are the biggest risks you've taken?
The biggest risks I've taken, that first one, moving to Los Angeles to be LA bureau producer, was really big because it wasn't just for my job, it was for my life. I made a decision because I knew what I wanted my days and nights to look like. And I think that's really important for people. I have never made a decision based on money, ever. I have always made decisions on what do I want my life to look like, my days and my nights. So that was a big risk. It ended up paying off really well. And then I ended up making double the salary from ESPN that first year. But that was, kind of a financial abundance was an unexpected outcome from that. So I think any risk that I took, and that was maybe one of the biggest ones early on, I just always had in my mind, how is this going to make my life better? It was never just about my career, my ambition, my work, certainly not about finances.
And I mean, you covered so many great athletes. You were a college athlete yourself, played volleyball in college. What have you learned from athletes and coaches and the great minds in sports that separates them, besides having good genes, that separates them and really gets them to the top of Mount Everest?
I think they're shapeshifters, Peggy. I mean, you know this so incredibly well too, that the best leaders, I mean, you covered Phil Jackson, one of the best ever, in terms of shape shifting and learning how to weave individuality into a powerful group culture. And I think that works both as a leader in sports, as a coach, but also as an individual. We were always told, like, growing up, to be well balanced and to work on your weaknesses. And certainly in sports, maybe, you dribble with your left hand then, or whatever it is. But in business, I don't buy into it. I say play to your strengths, outsource your weaknesses, get somebody, because here's the deal. When it comes down to it later on, you've got time and money, and you need to leverage those. They're twins. You leverage them the same way, which may mean using some money to buy back time to do more of what you want to do. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn. I needed to spend some money to be able to spend more time doing the things I want. I hate contracts. I hate paperwork. When my kids were little, I hated doing dishes. So I managed to leverage that to buy some energy back to spend time doing the things that I really want to do.
Well, I love how you tie it all in. And Jason, it's such a good lesson that Anne Marie is telling people in her book, Cultivating Audacity.
Good lessons.
So many good lessons that you have to think about the whole you, not just the career you. Yep. And I think that is so important. Okay, before we let you go, is this true, what I read, that you camped in the Serengeti, you hiked to the Everest Base Camp, you trekked with gorillas in the Congo? Anne Marie, most people don't take risks later in life. What in the world are you doing? I get that are you running away from something? What is going on?
That was all pretty early. And now I just take my kids with me to run away with me.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I just want to experience it, all of it.
Well, it's so wonderful to see you. Jason, I'm sending you the book because this is so good for you.
I love it.
You're going to love this. You're going to love all of the advice that Anne Marie gives in Cultivating Audacity, Dismantle Doubt, and Let Yourself Win. You can order a copy of the book, of course, anywhere that you get your books. You can go to the website, audacity.com, cultivatingaudacity.com, Facebook, Instagram, Anne Marie at Anne Marie Anderson TV, or Anne M. Anderson. That's Anne with an E. AMJ, it's so good to see you. I'm so proud of you, and I'm just so happy for all your success.
Thank you so much, Peggy, and I'll call you when I show up in Chicago soon.
Yes, please do. Jason, as you could tell, Anne Marie and I, we had a lot of fun together when we were roommates. Early in our careers, we were both just starting our careers at ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut, and we really had a blast. And she's got a great sense of humor, as you can tell. So it's really great to catch up with her, and I'm happy for all her success. Okay, it's prediction time, but let's do something different with predictions. Let's make a few predictions of what we want to get done this year. What do you
Oh,
want to get done? What do I want to get done this year? I'll go first because with the book, Cultivating Audacity, you have to just do it, right? I have to put in the effort to improve my golf game. I actually have to work on it and not just talk about it. So I am going to actually do it, not blow it off. I'm going to set up a plan. And no matter, like, I don't like looking bad and I don't like being embarrassed. So I tend to stay away from lessons and things like that. I have to take Anne Marie's advice and not be afraid to look bad in order to get a better end result. So that's my first one. What's yours?
I think that's great, Mom. Tee it high and let it fly. I'm excited to hear how that goes. One thing that I want to do a better seriously, one thing that I actually want to do a much better job of this year is I want to get more sleep. I want to be in bed by 10:30, 11, 5 nights a week. I think, well, when I'm not working late.
Yeah.
I've been working in studio a lot more lately, and so I've been coming home a lot later, and that means like not really getting free time until around midnight. And I think that another corner of adulthood that I need to turn is the corner of like when you get home at midnight, just go to bed. Like you don't need
Yeah.
to stay up until 2:30 playing video games, going on Instagram Reels, and so that's something that I
Wordle
want to do.
connections.
Connections, sports connections, daily
Sports
walk off, all that stuff. And so
Yeah.
I want to do a better job of being an adult, like cooking 4 or 5 nights a week, stuff like that, working out
Yeah.
more. You're always capable of more than you're currently doing. So I always want to keep that in mind.
So in light of Anne Marie saying about taking risks, I am going to take it literally.
You're
And
going to have another
I
kid?
am, no, that would be impossible. I am going to take more risks in my tennis game because I believe I have gotten too conservative and too comfortable with where I was at. And I think in order for me to make it to the next level, I need to not be afraid to take risks on the court. So I'm going to take her literally, and I'm going to take more risks. What about you?
I think that another thing that I'm going to continue to do a really good job of in my life is surrounding myself with the right people. I think last year, excuse me, gosh, I really
You
took the
the Caleb
initiative to
Williams disease. You got the Caleb Williams indigestion.
I really took the initiative to surround myself with people who I enjoy being around. I mean, I don't think that there's any point of having people in your inner circle who you don't like, who you don't want to be honest with, who you don't want to be open with. And I think that maybe that's something that we fall into the habit of in college or in school because you're forced to be around certain people who you don't necessarily like. And one thing that I did after graduation was kind of cut some of those people out of my life. And so I don't think any of those people are listening to this podcast, so I'll continue to do that this year in 2025. Kind of fine tune my inner circle to just my own group of people. People who I really love to talk to and enjoy my presence, and we're kind of on the same wavelength. And so don't be afraid to do stuff like that. I'm not saying not to value friendships and not to see other people out when you're not seeing eye to eye. But if there are people in your life who you don't enjoy being around and you don't have to be around them, don't be around them anymore.
All right. And my last one is kind of one of those pie in the skies. Am I too old to start something new? Am I too old to do something that I think would just be really fun and would keep me interested? And I would really like to take a step towards growing my own vines for having my own vineyard. We have some property. It's not in the best place to grow grapevines, but I would at least like to undertake the effort and maybe reach out to local agriculture school, and see if they wanted to use some of the property to do the same. And just kind of take, that's more of a dream for me. It's a hobby that I'd like to take to the next level. So yeah, that's kind of my that would be a big deal if I did something like that. I don't know if you have anything else.
Yeah, my last one would be I want to do a better job too of talking to people, when I don't have a reason to talk to them. I feel like I'm really only ever reaching out to people when I need something or when I want something or when there's a dire reason to. And I think just having casual conversation, even if it's over the phone, just to show someone that you appreciate them and that you're thinking about them and that you care what they have going on, I think is something that I need to do a better job of in my life. And so taking those relationships that I care a lot about, holding them a little bit closer is something that I could really improve upon in 2025.
I love that. That's actually something I've tried to work on as well. So being a better friend, being a better listener. So, all right. Our thanks to Anne Marie Anderson, ESPN broadcaster and author of Cultivating Audacity, Dismantle Doubt, and Let Yourself Win. You can follow her on the Cultivating Audacity website or follow on social media at Anne Marie Anderson. That's Anne with an E, Anne Marie Anderson TV, or at Anne M. Anderson. Our thanks also to our producer, Jack McGrath at ESPN Chicago, where the audio version of this podcast can be found
MIZ
at the ESPN Chicago app. Jason, if you like this episode,
you know exactly what you could do. Oh, I forgot to mention while on the topic of Mizzou that my Longhorns beat Jack's Tigers on the basketball court yesterday in Austin by 8. Okay, let me continue now. If you like our show, you could please like, rate, subscribe wherever you get your audio or your video for our podcast. We are on YouTube. We are on the ESPN Chicago app. We are on Apple Podcasts. Anywhere that you can like, rate, and subscribe our show, it boosts the algorithm, and it helps us continue to do what we love to do, which is talk sports together. Or in the case of episodes like today, maybe not talk so much sports, but tie it into a life topic, which is still fun too.
It was really nice to take it. We had such a brain, our brains hurt after this Bears season and this White Sox season and the Bulls and the Cubs. This
and the Blackhawks.
And the Blackhawks, yeah.
Starting to waste Connor Bedard.
We needed a reset. So thanks to Anne Marie Anderson. You can follow us on Twitter at TSAHSPod or at Jason Conander or at ESPN Peggy. That's it for this episode. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope that you make some goals, set some goals this year and you've reached them, or at least you have fun trying. Great, Jason, we'll talk soon. Okay, buddy?
Talk to you soon, Mom. Keep doing what you do.
All right. So long, everyone.